Sophia had often heard tales of the opulence and allure of massages, but she never had the courage to explore the more intimate options some spas provided. Recently, life had become overwhelming, and she longed for a way to relax. This desire brought her to Serenity Spa, a well-known establishment promising to make clients feel truly pampered. But today, Sophia wasn't here for a typical back or foot massage. She had booked a session for something much more intimate, a breast massage. Filled with both nerves and curiosity, she walked into the spa. The air was scented with lavender and vanilla, accompanied by a soft, soothing melody. It was exactly what she needed, yet her heart pounded, and her hands trembled slightly as she approached the reception desk. "Welcome to Serenity Spa. How may I assist you today?" the receptionist asked with a warm smile. Sophia's voice was barely above a whisper as she replied, "I have an appointment with Ethan." The receptionist's knowing smile and nod made it seem like this was a routine request. "Of course. Ethan is one of our best. He'll take great care of you." Sophia's heart fluttered at the thought. She had heard about Ethan from a friend who described his touch as nothing short of miraculous. Still, the thought of a man touching her so intimately made her pulse race, not just from nervousness, but from an unexpected sense of excitement. After a short wait, Ethan appeared. He was taller than she had imagined, exuding a calm assurance that immediately put her at ease. His sandy brown hair just brushed over his eyes, and his smile was warm yet professional. But there was something more, a subtle intensity in the way he held her gaze for just a second too long. "Hi, Sophia," he greeted her in a low, calming voice. "I'm Ethan. I'll be taking care of you today. Please follow me." As they walked down a softly illuminated hallway, Sophia's mind buzzed with anticipation. The room they entered was cozy and inviting, lit by a soft amber glow from strategically placed candles. A neatly made bed with plush towels awaited her, and the entire space seemed to promise comfort. "I can see you're a little nervous," Ethan said gently, his voice smooth, cutting through her thoughts. "It's normal to feel that way the first time, but my goal is to make sure you feel completely at ease." She offered a tentative smile, trying to calm her racing heart. "Thank you." Ethan stepped closer, his presence both soothing and undeniably magnetic. "You can undress and lie down under the towel, and we'll begin. Just breathe deeply. Today is all about you." With that, he exited the room to give her some privacy. Sophia's heart beat even faster as she undressed, laying herself on the soft massage table with the plush towel covering her bare skin. The anticipation was nearly overwhelming, but a thrill simmered beneath it. She closed her eyes, focusing on the rhythm of her breath. Moments later, Ethan returned, his steps quiet as he approached the table. Sophia sensed his presence before she heard him. "We'll start slow," he murmured, his hands hovering just above her, the room's atmosphere thick with unspoken energy. When his warm hands made contact with her shoulders, his fingers moving in slow, methodical circles, Sophia felt a wave of relief. His touch, though professional, had a tenderness that allowed her to relax immediately. She exhaled softly, letting herself sink into the rhythm of his movements. "Is the pressure okay?" he asked, his voice gentle with genuine concern. "Perfect," she breathed, her words barely audible. Ethan's hands gradually moved lower, tracing soft lines along her sides, just skimming the towel that covered her. His fingers were firm yet gentle, guiding her body into a state of relaxation she hadn't felt in years. As his touch neared her chest, her heart began to race again, not from nerves this time, but from something more. He paused, his fingers barely brushing the edge of her breasts, waiting for her permission. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice a soft murmur. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. "Yes," she whispered, feeling a surge of excitement. With care, Ethan folded the towel back, exposing her to the warm air in the room. His hands moved over her breasts with a reverence she hadn't anticipated, his fingers beginning to massage with a precision that felt both firm and tender. Each slow, deliberate movement sent waves of warmth radiating through her. Sophia's body responded to his touch, her breaths growing deeper as the tension she had carried for so long dissolved beneath his skilled hands. Yet, it wasn't just the physical relief that she felt. There was an intimacy in the way he touched her, a connection that seemed to pulse between them. It was as if his hands were not only easing her body but awakening a part of her she hadn't known was dormant. Ethan's breathing remained steady and controlled, but occasionally Sophia could sense his fingers linger a little longer, his touch becoming softer, more personal. The line between relaxation and something deeper began to blur, and she found herself enveloped in the sensation, losing herself in the warmth and connection that filled the room. Her skin tingled under his touch, each caress sending a wave of pleasure through her. "Ethan," she murmured, not entirely sure of her desire, but knowing she didn't want the sensation to end. His hands paused briefly, as if assessing her reaction, before he bent down, his breath warm against her ear. "How do you feel?" he whispered, his voice soft and filled with tenderness, mingled with something deeper. "Good," she responded, her pulse racing. More than good. A small smile played on Ethan's lips, and without a word he resumed. This time his movements held more intention, his touch more purposeful. His fingers traced the contours of her breasts, exploring every inch with a gentle touch that left her breathless. He wasn't rushing, taking his time to ensure each touch, each movement, made her feel treasured and valued. Sophia's eyes fluttered open momentarily, catching a glimpse of Ethan's focused expression. His gaze was intent on her, yet there was a deeper emotion in his eyes, something that made her heart race even more. She felt a strong connection with him, a bond that went beyond the physical. The massage lasted longer than she had expected, but Sophia didn't mind. She was lost in the feeling of his hands, the warmth of his touch, the way he seemed to understand her needs without a word. When Ethan eventually stopped, his hands lingered on her skin for a moment longer, his touch soft and filled with silent affection. He gently pulled the towel over her, covering her with the same care he had shown throughout the massage. "Take your time," he whispered, his breath warm against her ear. "You deserve to feel this." Relaxed, Sophia lay still for a moment, her body still tingling from his touch, unwilling to break the spell they had woven together. When she finally sat up, their eyes met, and they simply held each other's gaze. No words needed. Everything they felt, everything they shared, hung in the air between them. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. Ethan smiled warmly, his eyes reflecting a feeling deeper than mere gratitude. "Anytime." As Sophia left the spa that day, her heart pounded not just from the experience, but from the unmistakable bond she had felt with Ethan. It was more than a simple massage. It was the beginning of something new and exciting, and she knew without a doubt that it wouldn't be her last time in his attentive, skilled hands. Leaving the spa, Sophia's thoughts were consumed by the memory of Ethan's touch, the way her body had responded to him. She replayed every moment, every sensation in her mind, unable to shake off the deep attraction she now felt. A week later, Sophia found herself back at Serenity Spa. This time, the nervousness was replaced with a quiet excitement, a sense of anticipation humming under her skin. She had booked another session with Ethan, and the thought of seeing him again made her heart race. When she arrived, Ethan greeted her with the same warm smile, his eyes lingering on her slightly longer than before. "Welcome back, Sophia," he said gently, his voice as calming as ever. "Shall we begin?" This time the air between them was charged with an unspoken connection, one that had deepened since their last encounter. As they entered the private room, Sophia could feel the anticipation growing. The candles flickered softly, casting a warm golden glow that wrapped around them. She undressed slowly, her movements deliberate, knowing Ethan would soon return. Lying on the massage table, she covered herself with the towel, her heart racing with anticipation. When Ethan entered, the atmosphere shifted, becoming more intimate, more charged. He approached the table, his presence alone setting her at ease. His hands touched her shoulders like before, but this time there was a subtle change. His fingers lingered longer, his touch more intimate. He worked his way down her back, his hands firm yet tender, easing her muscles while kindling a slow, smoldering desire within her. As he moved lower, Ethan leaned in closer, his breath warm against her neck. "You feel tense here," he murmured, his voice sending a shiver down her spine. "Let me help you relax." Sophia's breath caught as his hand slipped beneath the towel, massaging her hips and lower back with an intimacy that was unhurried. He took his time, ensuring each motion was deliberate, each touch meant to soothe and to make her more aware of him. When he reached her sides, his fingers brushed the edge of her breasts, making Sophia's breath hitch. Ethan paused, his hands hovering just above her skin. "Do you want me to continue?" he asked, his voice low, nearly a whisper. "Yes," she replied, her voice filled with anticipation. Ethan gently removed the towel, fully exposing her, his hands warm as they cupped her breasts. His touch was gentle but firm as he began to massage, his fingers moving in slow circles, teasing and kneading in a way that made her body buzz with pleasure. Each caress sent waves of heat through her, building a tension within that she hadn't felt in years. As Ethan continued, his hands grew bolder, his touch more intimate. Sophia's breathing deepened, her body responding to every caress, every touch. She felt the warmth of his breath as he leaned closer, his lips barely brushing against the curve of her neck. The first kiss was gentle, barely more than a breath, yet it sent a surge of electricity through her. Sophia gasped, her body curving into his touch as his lips traveled downward, tracing a line along her shoulder and spine. His kisses were unhurried, each one leaving a warm trail behind. "I've wanted to kiss you like this," Ethan murmured against her skin, his voice thick with longing, "since the first time you came here." Sophia turned slightly, locking eyes with him, the intensity of his gaze making her pulse quicken. Without thinking, she reached up, pulling him closer until their lips met in a deep, fervent kiss. Ethan's kiss began softly, his lips exploring hers with a tenderness that made her melt, but as their kiss deepened, so did the passion between them. His hands, still kneading her muscles, moved with more urgency, his touch sending waves of pleasure through her. Sophia moaned softly into his mouth, her hands gripping his arms as she drew him nearer. Ethan broke the kiss, resting his forehead against hers, as he caught his breath. "Are you sure you want this?" he asked, his voice raw with desire. "Yes," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "I want you." With that, Ethan's hands slid lower, caressing her body with a gentleness that made her heart ache. He kissed her again, more deeply this time, with a passion that claimed her lips while his hands explored her curves. Each touch, each kiss, pulled her deeper into a realm of pleasure, her body completely surrendered to him. Sophia's hands roamed to his chest, her fingers tracing the definition of his muscles as she pulled him closer still. She felt the heat radiating from him, noticed the hitch in his breath as their kisses became more intense. Ethan guided her gently onto her back, his hands never leaving her skin. He kissed along her neck and collarbone, each kiss sending sparks through her. His lips moved lower, trailing down her body while his hands continued their tender exploration. Every kiss was slow yet deliberate, every touch filled with a desire that matched her own. When his lips reached her breast, Sophia gasped, her fingers threading through his hair as he kissed and teased her sensitive skin. His mouth was warm against her, his tongue tracing circles around her nipples, teasing her until she was breathless. His hands continued their soothing massage, his touch steady and attentive, sending waves of pleasure coursing through her. The room was filled with the sound of their ragged breaths, the quiet moans that escaped Sophia's lips as Ethan's hands and lips worked together seamlessly. Each touch and every kiss made her feel more alive, more desired than ever before. Ethan paused for a moment, his eyes dark with want as he gazed down at her. "You're beautiful," he whispered, awe coloring his voice. Sophia smiled, her heart swelling at his words. She reached up, pulling him into a kiss full of passion, filled with the bond they had forged. As their bodies moved in unison, the intensity between them grew, and they lost themselves in the moment, their desire for each other overtaking all else. Time seemed to blur as they explored each other, their hands and lips finding new ways to stoke the fire that had been building between them from the start. Each kiss and touch drew them closer, their connection deepening with every moment. Eventually, as night turned to dawn, they lay entwined, their bodies wrapped in each other's warmth, a comforting embrace. Sophia rested her head on Ethan's chest, her fingers tracing gentle patterns on his skin as they lay in the peaceful aftermath of their passion. "I never expected this," she whispered, her voice soft, full of feeling. "Neither did I," Ethan replied, his tone just as gentle, "but I'm glad it happened." Sophia smiled, a deep contentment settling within her, something she hadn't felt in years. She had come to the spa looking for relaxation, but she had discovered something far deeper, something much more meaningful. In Ethan's arms, she felt cherished, adored, and truly alive. As they drifted into sleep, wrapped in each other's warmth, Sophia knew that this was only the beginning of something beautiful, something that transcended the physical, rooted in a deep, undeniable bond. For the first time in a long while, she felt complete.